He pulled the pain from her body, but her kiss planted dangerous love in his soul. The colony ship drifted through the void like a dying star, and inside its metallic belly, 50,000 humans slept in their cryopods dreaming of a new world. They would never reach because the navigation systems had failed 3 months ago and nobody knew it yet. Except for one person. Lieutenant Amy Brooks woke to the sound of alarms screaming through the corridors, and her head felt like someone had stuffed it with broken glass because emergency revival was never gentle on the body, and she stumbled out of her pod, gasping for air that tasted like copper and fear. The ship was dying, and she could feel it in the way the gravity generators hummed, with a sickness that made her stomach turn and the lights flickered like the heartbeat of something wounded and desperate. She ran through the empty corridors past rows of sleeping pods, where families and farmers and engineers dreamed peacefully, while their ship fell apart around them, and she had to reach the bridge before whatever was killing them finished the job. The bridge was a graveyard of sparking consoles and shattered screens, and in the center of it all stood something that made her forget how to breathe. It was not human. She stood nearly 7 feet tall with skin that shimmered like oil on water shifting between deep purples and midnight blues, and her eyes were too large and too bright, burning with an amber light that seemed to see straight through flesh and bone into the trembling core of Amy's soul. The alien turned and Amy saw that she was beautiful, in a way that hurt to look at, like staring into the sun, or watching something sacred burn. The creature spoke, and her voice was music and thunder wrapped together in sounds that should not have fit inside a human throat. But somehow Amy understood every word. I am Kayla of the vast dark, and your ship is broken beyond your ability to repair. And you will all die here in the silence between stars unless you accept my help. Amy's training screamed at her to run, to hide, to wake the others and let someone else make this choice. But her body would not move, and her voice came out small and shaking. What kind of help? The alien moved closer, and Amy saw that her body was not entirely solid, but seemed to shift and flow like water, or smoke held together by will alone. And there was something deeply wrong about the way she moved, as if gravity and physics were suggestions she chose to ignore. Your species interests me because you are weak and fragile, and yet you throw yourselves into the void with such beautiful, stupid courage. And I have been watching you for many cycles, trying to understand what drives such soft creatures to reach for stars they can barely see. She reached out one long-fingered hand, and Amy felt every muscle in her body lock up in terror. But the touch when it came was gentle, almost tender. I can fix your ship and guide you to the world you seek, but such gifts require payment, and the only currency I value is connection and understanding. Amy's mind raced through 1,000 possibilities, and none of them were good because aliens who talked about payment and connection usually wanted something that humans were not meant to give. What do you want from me? Kayla smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing Amy had ever seen because there was hunger in it and loneliness so vast and ancient that it made Amy want to weep. I want to know what it feels like to be mortal, to carry pain in flesh that bruises and breaks because my people are eternal, and we forgot what it means to hurt, and without pain, there is no joy, only endless, empty existence. She moved even closer, and Amy could smell her now like ozone and starlight and something wild that had never known walls or cages. Give me your pain, and I will give you salvation. And perhaps in the exchange we will both find something we have been searching for, Amy thought, about the 50,000 people sleeping below, and the children who would never see the sun if this ship died. And she thought about her own fear and exhaustion, and the crushing weight of being the only one awake while everyone else dreamed. She nodded. The alien's smile widened, and she placed both hands on Amy's temples, and the world exploded into sensation. It felt like being turned inside out, like every nerve in her body was being pulled through a space too small to contain them, and Amy screamed, but no sound came out because her voice belonged to Kayla now, along with everything else. The pain came roaring up from the depths of her body, pain she had not known she was carrying from the emergency revival, from years of military discipline, that taught her to swallow her hurt and keep moving from the loneliness of command and the fear of failure. It poured out of her in waves, and Kayla drank it down like water in a desert, and the alien's eyes grew brighter with each passing second, burning with an intensity that should have blinded Amy, but instead made her see everything with terrible clarity. She saw Kayla's memories ancient and vast and drowning in isolation, because immortal beings could not die and could not truly connect, because connection required vulnerability, and vulnerability required the possibility of loss. She saw civilizations rise and fall like waves on a shore, and Kayla watching it all with eyes that never closed, and a heart that had forgotten how to feel until she found humanity small and breakable and so desperately alive. The exchange lasted forever and no time at all, and when it ended, Amy collapsed to the floor, gasping and shaking and completely free of pain for the first time in her adult life. Kayla stood above her trembling, and the alien's form flickered like a candle flame in wind, and there were tears on her face, tears that glowed like liquid stars. I understand now why you reach for the void even knowing it will kill you, because the reaching is what makes you alive and the knowing that it ends is what makes it matter. She knelt beside Amy and touched her face with fingers that felt more solid now, more real, as if the pain she had taken had given her substance and weight. Thank you for this gift, and I will honor it by keeping my promise. The ship shuddered and groaned, and through the broken windows Amy saw space itself begin to bend and twist, as Kayla worked miracles that human science could not explain and would never understand. Within hours, the navigation systems hummed back to life and the engines burned clean and bright, and the colony ship began its journey again toward the distant world where humanity would plant its flag and call it home. But Amy could not celebrate because Kayla had not left. The alien stayed by her side as the other crew members began to wake, and Amy watched them stumble onto the bridge and freeze in terror at the sight of the creature who had saved them all. Captain Lily Hansen demanded explanations and threatened protocols, and Amy tried to explain about the exchange and the gift and the salvation, but the words felt hollow in her mouth because how do you explain something that changed you at a level deeper than language? Kayla watched it all with those burning amber eyes and said nothing until the captain ordered Amy to her quarters and posted guards at the door as if locks and walls could contain what had happened. The alien followed her. She moved through the ship like smoke through screens and appeared in Amy's quarters without sound or warning, and Amy found that she was not afraid anymore, because fear required distance, and distance was something they no longer had. "Why are you still here?" Amy asked, and her voice was steady even though her heart was racing. "Because the exchange is not complete," Kayla replied, and her form flickered between solid and smoke, as if she could not decide what she wanted to be anymore. "I took your pain, but you took something from me as well, and now we are bound in ways that neither of us fully understands." She moved closer, and Amy saw that the alien's eyes were different now, less bright, but somehow more alive, as if the pain she had consumed had taught her how to see. "I have existed for longer than your species has had language, and I have never felt what I felt when I touched your mind, and now I cannot stop thinking about it." Amy's breath caught because there was something in Kayla's voice that she recognized, something raw and desperate and entirely too human. "What did you feel?" The alien reached out and touched Amy's face, and her fingers were warm now, solid and trembling slightly. "I felt what it means to matter to someone, and to know that the mattering will end. And I understand now why you mortals love so fiercely, because you know that time is the enemy, and every moment is borrowed and precious." She leaned closer, and Amy could see her own reflection in those amber eyes, small and fragile and entirely mortal. "Want more of it, and I want to understand what it means to love something that will die and leave me behind, because that is the price of connection, and I am willing to pay it." Amy knew this was dangerous, knew that humans and aliens were not meant to bridge the gap between their kinds, but her body moved before her mind could stop it, and she reached up and pulled Kayla down and kissed her. The alien's lips tasted like starlight and ozone and something wild that had never known walls, and Amy felt her entire body ignite with sensation that was both pleasure and pain wound so tightly together that she could not tell them apart. Kayla made a sound that might have been a gasp or a sob and kissed her back with a desperation that spoke of eons of loneliness finally finding an end. They broke apart gasping, and Amy saw that Kayla's form was more solid now, more real, as if the kiss had anchored her to reality in a way that nothing else could. "This is forbidden," Amy whispered, and her voice shook with fear and wonder. "I know," Kayla replied, and her smile was sad and beautiful and entirely too human, "and I do not care. Because I have lived forever without breaking rules, and it has brought me nothing.